The Writers Guild of America's recent announcement that they would once again be striking until they get fair pay and fair contracts has left many worried about what will happen to their favourite shows. What will happen to the Community movie? Will Season 2 of Quantum Leap be delayed? What about Severance? The scripts are finished, right? The last major writers' strike took place in 2007 and lasted for 100 days, causing significant disruption to the television and film industries. We lost Pushing Daisies because of that strike, something I will never get over. I do want to say on top of this, I am all for the strike. I may make jokes about losing Pushing Daisies, but they're just jokes, okay? Kind of. But one great production did come out of the last writers' strike. A peculiar season of Late Night with Conan O'Brien. Now, I won't go into the late night wars. Eddie Burback has an excellent video covering them, which I'll link in the description. I really recommend watching that if you haven't seen it already. But I want to talk about how Late Night with Conan O'Brien produced some of the most innovative and groundbreaking television of all time, despite having no writers, thanks to the brilliance of Conan. During the strike, O'Brien was forced to film without his usual team of writers, and he had to improvise his monologues and sketches all on his own. Rather than sticking to his usual formula, he embraced the chaos of the moment, creating an unusual and often absurdist style of comedy that captivated millions of people and cemented his reputation as one of the most daring and creative voices in late night television. There was a regular segment on the show where he would spin his wedding ring on the table to see how long it would spin for, and that was it. That was the bit. And we can't talk about these shows without mentioning his facial hair. Conan's decision to grow a beard during the writers' strike was a stroke of genius. In the same way that characters in comedy shows will be marooned for hours on an island, and then look completely dishevelled like they've been there for weeks, Conan didn't shave. It was the perfect visual representation of the chaos and disruption caused by the strike, and it added to the genius that was these shows. I'm sure if the option was available, Conan would have happily not done the show in support of the writing staff, and yet he did, because he was told that all the makeup people, stagehands, camera operators, and other people behind the scenes were gonna lose their jobs if he didn't. That's why he carried on. Before we get into the madness that was Conan's bizarre late night stunts, I first want to express just how devastating the 2007 writers' strike was. It had a massive effect on the TV industry, and many popular shows were forced to shut down production, including The Office, Lost and Heroes. The Office had to cut season 4 short, Heroes had to rush a finale and it was truly terrible. And season 4 of Lost had only shot 8 of 16 episodes before the writers' strike. Due to the strike, it had to be cut down by 2 episodes, and I think we can all agree, it made that season a little bit off. If you look at a box set of a show from the 2000s, and notice that one season is noticeably thinner or has less discs than the others, then the likelihood is it was because of the writers' strike. It was a challenging time for everyone involved, and while every other show was devastated, Conan thrived. And you know what else he did? He paid for over 80 of his writers from his own paycheck during the strike, so that they could stay on the show, despite not being able to work. It's refreshing to have a late night host who is actually on the side of the writers. Unlike James Corden, an anti-union scumbag who actively advocated for less pay for writers. As a British person, I am so sorry about this guy. Please don't give him back. So I keep hyping up how creative and brilliant Conan was during the strike. So let's talk about some of the bizarre nonsense that went on. One of the most iconic moments from Conan's show during the strike was the ring spin bit. In this segment, Conan would spin his wedding ring on the desk, which started as a gag he did during rehearsal. He asked his producer to time the ring spinning on the desk, with his record before doing it on the first show back being 41 seconds. He hypes up the ring spin, and you'd think that the bit would be really boring, but it's weirdly fascinating. You watch it and you're egging the ring on, encouraging it to spin for longer than 41 seconds. And the band play drums dramatically as it spins. It ultimately ends up spinning for 36 seconds. So he didn't beat his record. The audience encourage him to spin it again, to which Conan replies, "Trust me, there is time to do it again." The producer later said that she was gutted when the writer's strike ended because it meant her segment on the show would end. I can't believe Conan can make spinning a ring on a table this fun. It has no right to be. It really does speak to his brilliance as an entertainer. The only other late night host I could see being this good without writers is Craig Ferguson. Both of them are brilliant at making comedy from nothing, rather than sticking to a script, like Kimmel and that other prick. Conan's Writerless late night show reminds me of TalkSport. It's a radio station here in the UK. Well, during the pandemic, it had to improvise a little. Basically, it's an entire station dedicated to sport. But it was a pandemic, so it was a time when there was no sport being broadcast. So what do? They ended up getting sports people on reading children's stories to kill time. Not sure why that just came flooding back to me, but it's the exact same thing. Anyway, let's get back to talking about Conan. Another memorable bit was the zipline segment. Without a script, Conan decided that he was going to zipline over his audience, just because he could. Since he had the zipline set up, he improved over the bit over the week, ziplining from one side of the studio to the other, anything to kill time. At one point he ziplined in to save Abraham Lincoln from being assassinated. They were actors like. If he had successfully ziplined through time, just to take up time on his late night show, then that would be a little too impressive. Conan also produced some of the funniest remote segments he'd ever done during this time, and it led to the rise of one of the greatest things to ever come out of his show. A man named Jordan Shalansky. We'll talk more about him in a minute. But first I want to talk about a segment on the show that is perhaps the most memorable. During the writer's strike, late night talk show hosts Stephen Colbert, Conan O'Brien and Jon Stewart had to figure out ways to be entertaining without scripted jokes. In response to the ratings slump that came with the strike, the three comedians concocted a mock rivalry over then presidential candidate Mike Huckabee's success in the presidential primaries. The feud, known as Who Made Huckabee, was meant to fill airtime and garner more viewers. The faux rivalry began with Colbert claiming responsibility for Huckabee's success due to the Colbert bump in popularity resulting from his guest appearances on his show. O'Brien countered this by claiming he was responsible for Colbert's success because he mentioned Colbert on Late Night with Conan O'Brien. Stewart then claimed he was responsible for O'Brien's original success, having featured him on the Jon Stewart show in the early 90s. As the feud escalated, the three comedians insulted each other while putting forward increasingly farcical reasons for their role in Huckabee's success. This resulted in a three-part comedic battle between the three of them, with all three appearing on each other's shows on the same night. The feud ended on Late Night with Conan O'Brien with a tongue-in-cheek, all-out brawl. For those who didn't get the chance to see this live, the important context is that The Daily Show was on at 11, The Colbert Report was on at 11:30, and Late Night was on at 12:35. So if you tuned in the night this aired, you were able to piece together all these segments and watch it move on from show to show. It's brilliant. The three comedians shared a certain comedic sensibility and had a really good time, while at the same time helping each other out and filling out the runtime. Conan later said that the three were all looking for content at the time, and the Who Made Huckabee feud was a welcome creative outlet during a difficult time for the entertainment industry. Conan has demonstrated his comedic abilities not just on television, but also in the world of podcasting. His podcast, Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, is well worth a listen. The quality of it is exceptional. If you enjoyed how weird Conan got without a script during the writer's strike, then I think you'll love the podcast. It's wonderful how Conan is able to improvise and let his humour flow without the constraints of a script, just like how he did back in 2007. He's brilliant at thinking on his feet, and I definitely recommend it. Now, I want to talk about Jordan Shalansky, a producer on Conan's show who, I think it's fair to say, is a fan favourite. The writer's strike led to Jordan starring in remote bits with Conan, and each one of them is brilliant. Jordan and Conan have shared many skits together over the years, with some of them delving into Jordan's weird quirks and personal life. One of the most famous skits involved Conan sabotaging Shalansky's Italian road trip, and then attempting to make it up to him by taking him to Olive Garden. The banter between these two is incredible. Conan is incredibly mean-spirited to him, but his charm makes you love him for it. Jordan is a bit odd, but his dry responses make every remote segment with the pair of them worthwhile. My favourite moments are where Jordan tries to remain serious and true to his character, because it's definitely a character he's playing, though I completely believe it's simply an exaggerated version of his own personality. I'll always be thankful for the 2007 strike, because it gave us Jordan. I can regularly lose an entire evening watching clips of him and Jordan on YouTube. It's absolute gold. So yeah, despite the things that the 2007 writers' strike took from us, I'll never forgive them for taking Pushing Daisies away from me. We also got some of the greatest TV in history out of it. Conan's work during the strike is an excellent example of how creativity can flourish in the face of adversity. I genuinely think this is some of the most entertaining television ever produced. Compared to other late night hosts, Conan's show was a breath of fresh air. I've never seen him deliver a bad performance, whether it's on a remote shooting with the public, on his show, or on his podcast. Even without a team of writers to help him, Conan was able to turn even the most mundane topics into gold. It was peak television. I really hope that something this good can come out of this recent strike. Conan may not be on TV anymore, but I'm sure someone out there is gonna step up and entertain us. And, if they can't think of any ideas, then why not try simply spinning a ring on a desk? It worked the first time.